Okay, so let's move on to question 2. So Albert, Terry and Gareth. Now, with all of these, the first thing that I'm going to do actually on any of these questions is read the actual question itself and not all of the material that goes before it. So it says calculate the cost of the tent. So that's what I'm trying to do, calculate the cost of the tent. So Albert, Terry and Gareth pay for a tent between them. The amount they pay for the tent was in the ratio 1:4:6. Now, those of you in my class have seen I always do this in the same way, and I encourage you to do it in the same way because it keeps it quite a regular routine whenever I see this here, this ratio. So I see a ratio. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do a table of ratios, and I'm going to match the ratios that were given in the question, 1, 4 and 6, and in total they equal 11. Okay, and then I've got share. So the share, the amount they paid for each of the 10 was 1:4:6 respectively. Gareth paid 66.36. So this is Albert, this is Terry, this is Gareth. So Gareth paid £66.36. Okay, and the point of ratio is that it's about a proportion, and so 6 times something gives me 66.36, and that's what I need to figure out, is what do I times 6 by to get to 66.36. Now we've got to do the reverse of that, because the easiest way is to do 66.36 divided by 6. So I'm just going to set up my bush shelter. 66.36, 6 into 6 is 1, 6 into 6 is 1. Put the decimal point down. 6 into 3 doesn't go, so it's 0, and we've got 6 into 36 is 6. So we've got times by £11.06. Now actually 1 times £11.06 is £11.06, and 4 times £11.06, well, £11.06 doubled is £22.12, and doubled again gives me £44.24. I didn't actually need that. What I actually wanted was the total, because it said calculate the total of the tent. And because I've done that, though, there's two ways. I can either, and it depends whatever you're most confident with, add up £11.06, £44.22 and £66.36, or I can do 11 times £11.06. Now I'm going to do 11 times £11.06 by doing first times £11.06. I'm going to do that first, which is just £110.60. And I'm going to add £11.06 for the 11th one on there, which gets me £121.66. So my answer, and I'll make it clear, is £121.66. Okay, let's move on to part B. So in this part of the question, you'll be assessed on the quality of your organisation. So there's 2 marks here. The OC is for organisation and communication, and the W is for accuracy of writing, so our spellings. So the first thing is I'm only going to write any words down that are in this question to make sure I spell them correctly. I'm going to show all my workings, and because it's in pounds and pence, I'm going to put down my units. So the charge to stay at a campsite has increased 5% each year for the last 2 years. 2 years ago, the charge was £24 per night for a large tent and 3 people. Calculate the current charge for a large tent and 3 people. You will show your working. So it increased 5%. So 2 years ago, it was £24. It's gone up by 5%. So I'm going to find 5% of £24. Well, 10% of £24 is £2.40, so 5% of £24 is £1.20. So price 1 year ago was £24. That's £1.20, which is £25.20. Don't forget my units. So I'm going to now find 5% of £25.20. So 10% of £25.20 is £2.52. So 5% of £25.20. Maybe I should, I haven't, but I'm going to put in, tell the examiner what I'm doing, and then going to divide by 2. Make sure you put the brackets there, because 10% of £25.50 is not £2.52 divided by 2, so I need to make sure I'm clear with the examiner. But anyway, that's £1.26. So I've run out of space, which is not good when it's communication, so I'm going to say price now equals £25.20, add £1 plus £1.26, 6, 4, so it's £26 and 46 pence. Okay. Now, in doing that question, and I was a little worried about putting the price now bit, because what the examiner, a couple of things that the examiner insists on for OCW, accuracy, organisation. So I need to be organised. That means he wants it to flow from top to bottom. So I wasn't best comfortable with just sticking the price over here and running out of space. However, from marking the papers in the past, I don't think that's something that would cost you a mark. If you did have to work over the right, work over the right rather than not. I have communicated. I've put in little pieces of words 2 years ago, find, price 1 year ago. I've told him what I'm doing at each stage. I've shown my workings, and I've clearly not made a spelling mistake. I've not put any words that I haven't spelled correctly. So I would anticipate that would be sufficient to pick up those 6 marks. Okay? Right, let's move on to part C, which is completely unrelated to the rest of the question, and that's important, because if you can't do a part A or a part B, please look at the part C. Don't just assume, oh, I can't do this because I don't know this topic, because this question has got nothing to do with finding the value of a ratio or finding the cost of a tenth. This is to do with area. It's a completely different question. Now, first thing that I want to do on seeing this, before, if you noticed, I've even read the question, is I'm making it into a compound shape. So I'm working with shapes that I understand. I've got a rectangle here and a trapezium at the top. I also know that the trapezium formula, which is at the front, but I'm going to need to probably use that, is half A plus B times H. Right, now it says the area of the ground sheet is 6.8 meters squared and the width of the ground sheet is 2.2 meters. Calculate the overall length of the ground sheet. Well, the overall length is labelled here. Well, if I know the area of the ground sheet, that's 6.8 meters squared is the rectangle plus the trapezium. So the first thing that I'm going to do, and I can find out, is the area of the rectangle, which you know is length times width, which gives me 2.2 times 2, so I've got 4.4 meters squared. Okay, now overall is 6.8 meters squared, so the trapezium must be 6.8, which is the overall ground sheet, take away the rectangle, which gives me 2.4 meters squared. So I now can, in a position, and whenever you're stuck, one of the suggestions I would do is put the numbers from the question that you've got, put those into the formula and see what you're left with. So I'm going to do that. The formula of a trapezium is a half. The A and the B are referring to these parallel sides. So they're referring to the 1.8 and the 2.2. So 1.8 plus 2.2 times by the height of the trapezium will be 2.4. Now what's going to happen here is I'm going to find out the height of this trapezium, and then I'm going to have the height of the trapezium, and which is this bit, and I'm going to be able to add that onto my 2 to find the overall length of the ground sheet. So 1.8 plus 2.2 is 4, and half of 4 is 2, so this means I've got 2h equals 2.4, h is 1.2. So the height of the trapezium is 1.2, and my overall height, and again I would have written this underneath, but to keep it on the same screen so you can see everything, I've just put it over here to the right. The overall height is 2 plus 1.2, which is 3.2 meters. So there we have it. That was question B. We've got a nice little area question worth 4 marks, a lovely little ratio, and some percentage work. So 3 questions you should be able to have a go. I get 13 marks. That's a lot of marks on this paper, and they should be quite accessible. Okay, so good luck. And the next question I'll move us on to will be, I think, question 5. We miss out question 3, which is not on our syllabus, and question 4, and we will go to question 5 next.